The difference between an A student and everyone else rarely begins with intelligence. It begins with ordinary decisions repeated so consistently that they eventually become invisible. Most students believe better grades come from studying longer, sacrificing sleep, or filling notebooks with endless pages of notes. But that belief often leads to frustration instead of progress. Imagine two students preparing for the same exam. One spends 8 exhausting hours rereading chapters, while the other studies for half the time yet remembers twice as much during the test. What creates such a dramatic difference? The answer is hidden in habits that quietly shape every learning session long before an exam ever appears on the calendar. These habits are not mysterious talents reserved for geniuses. They are practical behaviors that anyone can build with intention, and once you understand them, you may never look at studying the same way again. The first habit is planning every study session before it begins. High-performing students rarely sit down wondering what to do next. Instead, they define a clear objective, such as mastering one concept, solving 20 practice problems, or explaining a difficult topic from memory. This simple decision gives the brain a destination, making concentration easier and reducing the temptation to drift toward distractions. Without a target, even motivated students waste precious energy deciding what deserves attention. That hidden mental fatigue quietly steals hours every week. The second habit is studying actively instead of passively. Reading the same page repeatedly feels productive because it is familiar, but familiarity is not the same as learning. Students constantly challenge themselves by asking questions, solving problems without looking at answers, summarizing lessons in their own words, and testing recall before checking notes. Every struggle strengthens memory because the brain remembers information it successfully retrieves far better than information it merely recognizes. At first, this approach feels harder, which is exactly why it works. Your brain grows through effort, not comfort. Here is something surprising that many students overlook. Forgetting is not always the enemy. In fact, allowing yourself to forget slightly before reviewing information creates stronger memories than reviewing too frequently. That idea sounds backward, yet it explains why some students remember lessons for months while others forget everything the morning after the exam. The next habit takes this principle even further, and it completely changes how top students organize their entire week. Before revealing it, consider your own routine for a moment. Are you studying in ways that genuinely improve your memory? Or are you simply doing what feels like studying because it looks productive? That single question separates temporary effort from lasting academic success. And the result becomes even more revealing once you discover how the best students make every hour of study produce results that continue long after they close their books and leave the desk. The third habit is using spaced repetition instead of cramming everything into a single marathon session. Top students understand that memory strengthens over time when information is reviewed at carefully increasing intervals rather than all at once. Instead of spending 6 exhausting hours with one chapter and never touching it again, they return to the material briefly after a day, several days later, and again the following week. Each review becomes shorter, while the memory becomes stronger. It feels almost too simple, yet this rhythm works because the brain treats repeated successful recall as proof that the information is valuable enough to preserve. The fourth habit is treating mistakes like teachers instead of enemies. Average students often avoid difficult questions because getting them wrong feels discouraging. Students deliberately search for challenging problems because every mistake exposes a weakness before the real exam can. They know that confusion today is far less expensive than confusion during a timed test. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail this question?" they ask, "What pattern caused this mistake, and how can I prevent it next time?" That shift transforms failure into feedback and steadily removes blind spots that hold most students back. The fifth habit is protecting focus with surprising intensity. Every notification, quick message, or unnecessary glance at a screen interrupts the brain far longer than most people realize. Even after returning to a textbook, attention often takes several minutes to recover completely. Students create environments where deep concentration becomes the default rather than something they hope will happen. They silence distractions, keep only essential materials nearby, and commit to uninterrupted blocks of work that allow ideas to connect naturally. During those periods, learning accelerates because the brain is no longer forced to restart every few minutes. Yet there is another hidden advantage that many people never notice. Deep focus also reduces stress because unfinished mental tasks stop competing for attention. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything left to study, students experience the satisfaction of completing meaningful progress one step at a time. This creates momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in academic success. Once progress becomes visible, motivation no longer depends on emotions. It grows from evidence. Every completed objective proves that improvement is happening, making the next study session easier to begin. But even these 5 habits are not the complete picture. 2 final habits quietly multiply the power of everything you have learned so far, and together, they explain why some students consistently perform well, even during the most demanding semesters. One of those habits has almost nothing to do with studying itself, yet ignoring it can erase hours of hard work. The other changes the way top students think about learning forever, creating confidence that lasts far beyond a single exam and follows them into every future challenge they choose to face with determination. The 6th habit is protecting your body as carefully as your study schedule. Many students believe success requires sacrificing sleep, skipping meals, or surviving on caffeine, but those shortcuts quietly weaken the very brain they depend on. Sleep is not wasted time. It is when your brain organizes information, strengthens memories, when prepares itself to solve problems more efficiently the next day. Consistent exercise increases focus, healthy meals provide steady energy, and proper hydration helps maintain mental clarity during long study sessions. Top students understand that academic performance is not separated from physical well-being. They know that a healthy mind grows inside a healthy body, so they treat self-care as part of their study strategy, instead of a reward after studying. The 7th habit is perhaps the most powerful, because it changes everything else. A student's focus on mastering ideas rather than chasing grades. Ironically, this mindset often produces the highest grades anyway. Instead of asking, "Will this be on the test?" they ask, "Do I truly understand why this works?" That single question encourages curiosity, deeper thinking, and lasting confidence. When learning becomes the goal, exams become opportunities to demonstrate understanding, instead of moments to fear. This mindset also removes much of the pressure that causes students to panic. They stop comparing themselves with classmates and begin measuring progress against who they were yesterday. Every chapter mastered, every mistake corrected, and every distraction resisted becomes evidence that they are growing stronger. Over time, these small victories create remarkable results. None of these 7 habits are dramatic on their own. Planning each session, studying actively, reviewing consistently, learning from mistakes, protecting focus, caring for your health, and pursuing mastery instead of perfection may seem ordinary when viewed individually, yet together they create an extraordinary system that compounds day after day. That is the real secret separating A students from everyone else. They rarely rely on motivation because systems continue working even when motivation disappears. Anyone can feel inspired for one afternoon, but lasting success belongs to those who repeat effective actions until they become automatic. The encouraging truth is that you do not need to transform your entire life overnight. Choose one habit today, practice it consistently until it feels natural, then add another. Small improvements repeated every day eventually produce achievements that once seemed impossible. Months from now, you may look back and realize that the turning point was not a perfect study plan or a lucky break. It was the moment you decided to replace ineffective routines with habits that truly supported the way your brain learns. The question is no longer whether these habits work. The real question is which one you will begin practicing today, and how different could your academic future look if that single decision became the start of a completely new way of learning. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.